Daniela Johnson. We have met her 45 minutes ago, slump on the right side, temperature 24.6, pulse is 70. BP was 170 over 105.
You all are the relatives of this patient? What's her name?
Stroke is a leading cause of death and disability worldwide. Globally, 1 in 4 adults over the age of 25 will have a stroke in their lifetime. The incidence of stroke significantly increases with age. However, over 60% of strokes happen to people under the age of 70 and 16% happen to those under the age of 50.
Hi, Ms. Johnson. My name is Dr. Kanhai, right? I just want to examine you quickly, whilst the nurse also does her routine checks, okay?
Over half of people who have a stroke will die as a result. For survivors, the impact can be devastating, affecting physical mobility, eating, speech and language, emotions and thought processes. These complex needs can result in care and financial challenges for the individual and for their caregivers, as well as placing significant demands on health and social welfare systems. Knowing the signs of stroke and getting emergency medical treatment as soon as you can saves lives and reduces disability.
The thing is, she doesn't have any meds. They're uncertain of the meds that she's on.
No, she don't have any medical history. This is the first time.
Alright, so basically what we have to do, we have to organize some blood investigations for her. Could we call the lab personnel to get that done? And we have CT on call, right?
Yes, we do that.
Okay, so let's order a CT immediately and see what's really going on here.
No problem.
Join us today as we collaborate with the doctors and staff of the community hospital to help walk you through every single step a stroke patient experiences, from the first twist of the face and slurring of speech to hospital admission and the experience in accident and emergency, and what to expect when you are rushed to radiology for an urgent CT to obtain a diagnosis. This part 1 of our special 2-part series on stroke is focused on providing you with the tools you need to recognize if your loved one is having a stroke and what you should do next.
So the patient comes in, they're not feeling well for whatever reason, whatever impairment they may have. A CT scan is a great tool as a radiologist to be able to see acutely what's wrong with the brain, right? It's the gold standard for acute brain imaging. However, hyperacute things in the brain may not show immediately, but it's quick, it's affordable, and we can see what's going on, all right? Strokes are some of the most common things that you're going to find with a patient with some sort of impairment. It could be a bleeding stroke or it could be an ischemic stroke. Both strokes are commonly caused by, say, hypertension, atherosclerosis. These things are quite common. Of course, we know those are the most common illnesses affecting non-communicable diseases affecting persons, right? So yeah, you have ischemic, very common, because there are many vessels, and because of plaque buildup, hypertension, you can have strokes in any part of the brain. Hemorrhagic, a little less common, but it also happens. When you have a stroke, that means you've impaired the blood supply to that area of the brain. It could be a little vessel, it could be a large vessel. That part of the brain undergoes lack of oxygen or glucose or whatever is needed for those cells to function. When they don't function well, fluid collects in the cells, so the part of the brain swells. And as a radiologist, that's what we look for, water in places in the cells where it's not supposed to be. That part of the brain swells, and we can see it. It looks a little darker in a CT. We could see that part of the brain that looks that way, and we could say that there's a stroke, an acute stroke. On CT, acute hemorrhage is hyperdense, it means it's brighter than the brain parenchyma. And in hypertensive patients, that commonly happens right in the center of the brain, close to your basal ganglia, and we can see it really quickly. Of course, you could have hemorrhage for other causes, but yes, it would look bright and it lights up that brain, you can't miss it. So oftentimes the patient presents with similar symptoms. There's an impairment in the brain, and the treatment for a bleeding stroke and an ischemic stroke, completely different. You treat ischemic stroke with blood thinners, and then you don't want to treat a hemorrhagic stroke with blood thinner. Get the report out, all right, because the doctors need to know what to treat. So if it's an acute bleed, of course, you could have changes in the brain, which would be swelling of the brain. It can cause herniation of the brain. That patient could actually die if the bleed is large enough. So it is emergent management that needs to happen quickly, and that's what we need to tell the referring doctors, either by calling them immediately or issuing that report and telling the people on site, get that patient to theatre, get that patient, tell the patient. Because most times the doctors may still be here in the room at the time of the scan, and they can immediately treat the patient as well. CT is a gold standard for immediate investigation of a stroke. Why? Because it is quick, it is affordable. You can get the patient in and out in just a few minutes, a minute or two. So it's very good as a radiologic tool in investigating a stroke. You may, if it is a hyperacute stroke, not be able to see it, but those cases are less common. So CT still remains the gold standard for imaging of the brain.
My name is Dr. Joanne Williams-Carroll, and I am the Director of Behavioral and Mental Health at the Community Hospital. At the Community Hospital, we believe in nurturing mind, body, and soul. Through our counseling and chaplaincy program, we will provide you with support and strength you need to help with your mental and emotional well-being. Give us a call.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
It is, nah, you don't need to register nothing. You don't need, we can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit, and then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and, I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
We believe we defend criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploiting the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
Always, we appreciate you starting your day with us. Let's get into this morning's first conversation.
Is the country's healthcare system more at risk more than ever?
Why it has remained unaddressed for so long.
Political parties get lots of cash, big cash from financiers, and then when they get that now, you can't account for it.
But it's really the specialist nurses who we are in a greater shortfall for.
We can tap into the resources and have them, at least form some mentorship programs.
Highlight our food systems, and which will attract persons from all over the world to come and experience something that actually supports the local economy.
We're lucky that we have a vibrant legal system that allows change to take place, and it's not that matters are just swept under the carpet and discrimination is allowed to be perpetrated.
A lot of people don't know that there were attempts to ban the carnival, suppress the carnival.
So, Doc, we just saw you attend a patient who came in with a suspected stroke. Yeah. Can you please explain to us exactly what is a stroke?
Well, in simplicity terms, a stroke is basically a compromise of blood flow to the brain, actually oxygenated rich blood. There are two types of strokes, an ischemic stroke as well as a hemorrhagic stroke. Simplicity terms, an ischemic stroke is a clot, a hemorrhagic stroke is a bleed.
Okay. And essentially, both of them, whether it's ischemic or hemorrhagic, the end result is death to the brain cells.
Sure.
Right? So she would have presented with a certain spectrum of symptoms.
can you explain to us exactly what we should be looking out for in our relative if we suspect that they are having a stroke?
Sure. So for the general public, basically you could have a basic checklist, which it's very simple. It's an acronym.
Yeah.
FAST.
Fast.
Fast. And of course you need to act fast. All right? So F, you look for facial weakness, any drooling, any compromise there, any tingling sensation. A.
Twisting of the face.
Correct.
Yep.
A, you basically look at any weakness in the arms.
Right.
It could be unilateral, meaning one-sided. It could affect actually the entire one side of the body or
arm and leg?
Yes, correct.
Right, okay.
Right. S, you look for basically speech, so any speech impediment, so any slurred speech.
Yeah.
And of course, T is time is of the essence.
Right, so fast, F-A-S-T, face.
Face, arms.
Arms.
Yeah, speech, and time.
All right,
So
great.
you call EHS one time.
All right, fantastic. So, and we have to move fast because we know this is ultimately death to brain cells, and we need our brain, whether it's hemorrhagic or ischemic. Now, not everybody gets a stroke. I know it's pretty common from my practice, from your practice. Can you tell us exactly, let's just say you're a casualty officer, in your 8-hour shift, how frequent would you see a case like this?
I would say about 1 in 10 patients.
1 in 10, so it's pretty common. Who's at risk for getting this?
Well, definitely persons who are obese, who has comorbid factors such as diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. You could also have some familial symptoms or familial background, basically.
A family history of stroke. Okay, cigarette smoking?
Of course, main thing.
Sedentary lifestyle.
Yes.
Right. So it's all the things that we know we should be doing, right? But we don't.
Right.
And I want to emphasize to everybody out there the critical nature of this stroke, this cerebrovascular accident, CVA. You said time is of the essence. One, why? Why is time of the essence? What is the time frame that we should be thinking of to get the patient from home in the kitchen straight to casualty? What is the time frame I'm looking at, and why is it so critical?
Ideally, you should act within 3 to 4 hours of when you initially see an onset of one of those symptoms.
So if I see Granny across the table with her face twisted and not speaking properly like she normally does.
Correct.
I need to just act quickly, get her to, not the GP office.
No,
right?
you should rush her to the emergency.
Emergency. It has to be a hospital setting.
It should be, ideally, because again, as you know, there are subsequent investigations that need to be carried out that could only be done in a supervised manner in a hospital setting.
Yeah, we were looking at that. Exactly what investigations should the relatives be expecting to take place with their relative?
So basically, the first thing you should do is a CT scan of the brain, is a CAT scan of the brain, and that will actually be able to help you differentiate between whether it's an ischemic, which is a clot, or a hemorrhagic stroke. Secondly, you look at other stuff such as the comorbid factors. So you look at the blood sugars, cholesterol, you also look at an HbA1c, your renal function. Cardiac events tend to also contribute to strokes as well.
Yeah.
So obviously you do an EKG or an ECG, and subsequently you also would do something known as an echocardiogram, which is an ultrasound of the heart, as well as carotid Doppler ultrasounds, because you want to pick up if there are any clots or plaque buildup in the carotid arteries.
Right. So, and the time frame we're looking at for you to be able to institute treatment would be the 3 to 4 hours.
Sure.
So that's really critical.
Of course.
All right. With respect to the investigation, I am assuming right now, so we've stabilized her.
Yeah.
Usually you would then have a conversation with the relatives, let them know exactly what's the status, what you were thinking. Yeah.
So usually, I mean, in the midst of everything, when you rush a patient in the ER, we tend to ignore the relatives slightly, but we are not really ignoring them. We are acting on the patient at hand. after which we tend to communicate to them in terms of prognosis.
I think people need to understand, because time is of the essence, the longer they wait, more brain cells are being damaged.
Compromised,
and they don't regenerate. So
Correct.
we need to preserve as much of brain functionality as possible. And if it's hemorrhagic, that could be fatal.
Yes, correct.
So that's why I would assume your attention will be fully on her, and when you stabilize her, then you can have that conversation.
If I may, Doc, one other thing, there's something known as a TIA, which is a transient ischemic stroke, or TIA, transient ischemic attack, basically, which is a mini stroke.
Tell us about that.
And basically, you experience the same symptoms, or you may, but it usually resolves within 24 hours. So a lot of people miss that window period, and that also is critical.
What's the significance of a TIA? Let's just say Granny got a TIA, so she had the twisting of her face, but a couple hours it went away. Should I bother? Should I say thank God and just leave her, or should I still carry her to casualty?
And that's actually done in most cases, but you should still take the patient to the emergency department.
Yeah, because mini strokes are just a warning sign of something going to happen.
Further, what is going to happen.
So it's just like a test run of the real thing, and the real thing, when it happens, is not going to reverse. It's going to be permanent damage.
And usually when you get one, you are more prone to getting subsequent TIAs or even cardio or cerebrovascular accident events.
Radiographer at the radiology departments at the community hospital. We offer high-quality service with state-of-the-art equipment in X-ray, ultrasound, CT, and mammogram. Come, our friendly staff awaits you.
Give us a call at 235-5479.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
As always, we appreciate you starting your day with us. Let's get into this morning's first conversation.
Is the country's healthcare system more at risk more than ever?
Why it has remained unaddressed for so long.
Political parties get lots of cash, big cash from financiers, and then when they get that now, you can't account for it.
But it's really the specialist nurses who we are in a greater shortfall for.
We can tap into the resources and have them, at least form some mentorship programs.
Highlight our food systems, and which will attract persons from all over the world to come and experience something that actually supports the local economy.
We're lucky that we have a vibrant legal system that allows change to take place, and it's not that matters are just swept under the carpet and discrimination is allowed to be perpetrated.
A lot of people don't know that, there were attempts to ban the carnival, suppress the carnival.
We are tackling the hard-hitting topics, some controversial topics, some topics we sweep under the rug.
You don't always have to forgive in a relationship for it to move forward.
If it is you are in a situation where you forgive the person, but to the detriment of yourself, what are you really doing?
It is very uncommon for somebody in the younger age group to have dementia.
Atheists don't not believe.
Is that I can't disprove God, but you also can't prove God, so we kind of at a stalemate.
We'll focus on the woman who's been the victim, or the man has been the victim. We exclude the children.
Folks are trying to study the underlying brain mechanism to figure out how does this particular disorder happen in the brain? How is the brain processing this?
Don't worry about AI, worry about humans working with AI.
Are you willing to learn new skills to stay relevant for the future job market? That's the challenge that people are going to struggle with.
Did you know there's a vitamin that helps your brain, heart, and metabolism all at once? Meet vitamin B3 or niacin, an essential nutrient for overall well-being. Boosts brain function. Niacin improves memory, focus, and reduces the risk of cognitive decline. Supports heart health. It helps lower bad cholesterol and increases good cholesterol, protecting against heart disease. Aids digestion and skin health. B3 keeps your digestive system running smoothly and reduces inflammation in the skin. Where can you find vitamin B3? Poultry and fish, chicken, turkey, tuna, and salmon, whole grains, brown rice and whole wheat, nuts and seeds, peanuts and sunflower seeds, mushrooms and avocados, nutrient-packed plant sources. A lack of niacin can cause fatigue, poor digestion, and even memory problems. But getting enough helps you stay sharp and strong. Fuel your brain, heart, and body with the power of vitamin B3. Chef Emmanuel from Food Hall is going to show us today how to use simple everyday ingredients you probably already have in your kitchen and transform this into a nourishing, wholesome, absolutely delicious meal your entire family can enjoy. It's called egg and veggie fried rice. On part 2 of our special series on stroke, we are joined by Dr. Stephen Carell and Renee Cruikshank, who will reveal all the treatment options available for the different types of stroke, including rehabilitation and lifestyle changes.
The reason why the time window is so key, it's because these are the cells that are sort of hanging in the balance.
Right.
So they're considered salvageable in the right conditions. But if they're not presented with the right conditions, then secondary brain injury can ensue, causing now this deficit to worsen or become permanent.
radiographer at the radiology departments at the community hospital. We offer high-quality service with state-of-the-art equipment in X-ray, ultrasound, CT, and mammogram. Come, our friendly staff awaits you.
Give us a call at 235-5479.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.